two civil society organizations, Men Against Rape Foundation and Make a Difference Initiative, working to curb sexual and gender-based violence across Nigeria, have called out Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency of Lagos State for their negligence and complicity in the circumstances that led to the death of a 35-year-old Mrs. Bimbo Ogbonna in Lagos State. Bimbo was alleged to have bought kerosene and set herself ablaze in the heat of hostility between her and her husband, Mr. Ogbonna, on the 13th of October 2022 in one apartment in Lagos State. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the Executive Director of Men Against Rape Foundation, Lemi Oegbe, and Director of Investigation, Make a Difference Initiative, Comrade Jacob Eddy, said they have taken time out to investigate the circumstances that led to Bimbo's death and that it is disheartening as it was avoidable. Oegbe said it is on record that Bimbo cried out, filed formal complaint to Lagos Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency about serial abuse by her husband, Mr. Ogbonna. He said the group also have recorded conversation between Bimbo and the agency's official, wherein Bimbo was distressed and called the agency for urgent action, but the agency treated the evidence with usual bureaucracy of public service.
Based on the maxim of injury to one is injury to all, an injury to Bimbo in Lagos is injury to Usena in Sokoto. It's injury to Diara in Plateau. It's injury to Uche or Nkechi in Anambra. We must be the circle of love and care that hold others accountable, because Bimbo is dead. And when you say she's a junkie, does that qualify why she will be set ablaze, whether by herself or by anybody else, and the door is locked and the husband is filming it? Bimbo is this, Bimbo is that. Is that why the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency will not be proactive to respond to distress call of Bimbo? Instead, they dealt with it with the bureaucracies that public service is known to do. So we have to call them out and also call on the DPP of Lagos State, Director of Public Prosecution. There is prima facie evidence already. If your fowl is born in the cage, what do? A husband was filming the wife burning. Prima facie case. Criminal elements in that fact. That is one. Abused him, we do not have that evidence. They can bring it out, but one thing is sure, even if you say she was abusing her husband, it also proves that there was a problem with that relationship. She was already losing her head, and that is the reason the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency needed to have worked with her, if that is the case, find out whether she has psychological trauma from it, and work to guarantee her that. Even under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which has been domesticated even in Lagos State, Section 3738 mandates government to provide psychotherapy for victims of trauma. So they owed Bimbo a duty, and they failed Bimbo woefully, and we are calling them out. The real problem why these cases continue to rise is the lack of deterrent. What will deter another person from committing such a crime? It is that the person who committed it earlier had suffered severely for it, had been punished by the law. But in a situation where people are just let off the hook when this happens, for instance, this case, for instance, was beginning to be treated as if nothing happened. The reason we are doing this is a first step in our advocacy to make sure that the Bimbo case is not just swept under the carpet. It's also an advocacy to make sure that the DSVA, Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency of Lagos State, really sits up, gets to the bottom of the officers who were complacent with Bimbo's distress call, then really enter what is called a standard operational practice guidebook, where they will know that every case that is reported must be treated as if it's a matter of life and death. After all, every case of domestic violence, according to Lagos State DSVA, has a potential to lead to murder. This has led to death. We cannot sit here and say it is murder, but we know that enough questions must be answered by Ikechukwu Ogbonna, who chose to be recording the wife burning instead of rescuing her. It's a big question, going by the fact that there has been other substantial evidence of him domestically violating the same Bimbo.
However, Comrade Jacob Eddy decreed the rising tide of domestic and sexual violence, called on the Lagos State Director of Public Prosecution to call Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency for the file with documentary evidence of physical abuse of the deceased by her husband.
The law does not permit you to take your own life. So when a man's wife is on fire and the next thing he needs to do or he has to do is to take shots of it or do video recording, something should prick your mind. And this is where we are coming from. Even the animals, the pets I have in my house, there are sounds they make and I know that there is trouble. I quickly go to check, not to talk of a man's wife who is on fire, maybe petrol or kerosene, which she poured on herself allegedly. And the next thing the husband has to do is to try to get evidence. What is he trying to protect? So it's very curious actually. And what we are saying is, let the law take its course. It's as simple as that. They have to investigate how they got to that point. The remote and immediate causes of that death must be investigated. If the law does not permit you to take your own life, it means that no one else should take your own life. So when life is lost, it's simple that we need to know why. Because this can happen to your wife, your daughter, your sister, or any other relative, even your friend. This is a call to action. Everybody needs to support this because you don't know whose turn it will be the next time.